Yeah, I think what's interesting about weeds is they're the plants in the city that we do not see. They exist invisibly until we need to do something to an area. But they just quite happily get on with their lives and, you know, grow, seed and move on. Because they're in this church, because they're in this space, you're thinking, you know, gosh, look at this looks completely different. But really, all of these plants can be found, you know, within, I don't know, 100 yards of Fabrica. I usually work in and around the urban environment, recording plants using a Scion 5MX, which is a very small palm-top computer. On this Scion, I've got a database which is has about 20 categories and about 140 plants. The things I'm interested in about the plants are in the different categories. So it could be whether a plant is edible, whether it has any magical properties, what colour it is, and even what type of plant it is. I won't put that it's a biennial or perennial. I'll put something like, oh, it keeps coming back every now and again, or here today, gone tomorrow. It's kind of like, it's broken down into a layman's language. I knew that I had to do drawing in order to get into a degree course. Every day I used to wake up at 7 o'clock, go into a garden, draw, you know, barely stop, right through till 10, go to the pub, have a drink, go to sleep, wake up, draw. I did that for a year, and then I applied. And when I applied, I knew before the interview I'd got in, because the work was just so strong. All my drawings on the walls are extremely faint and barely visible. By having to look and search for these drawings, then you're having to just look at things which you wouldn't normally spend time looking at. So that's what it did for me. When I had to draw, I had to stop and I had to look. And so, you know, it was a year of really making an intense body of work that was about looking.
Stour Valley Arts is based in Kingswood, Challock, Kent, high on the North Downs between Ashford, Faversham and Canterbury. It's 1,500 acres of Forestry Commission land, which Stour Valley Arts was invited to develop an art project working with artists in response to this forest environment. To begin with, we worked with artists who were actually making work in the forest for people to see there. They work with natural materials such as the earth of the forest, the clay, flint, chalk and the chestnuts. About 5 years ago, we began commissioning artists who worked in a whole range of media. Their work in response to the forest was then shown in galleries and other places. It's important for us to work with other organisations who have gallery spaces. This whole collaboration with Fabrica has developed over a number of years, and it's a very appropriate collaboration, I feel, because there's great similarities between the two organisations. We both have very particular contexts. We're a forest and Fabrica is in fact a church. So the work we're commissioning needs to be very site-specific. We talked about how we could work and why we would work together and what we would do together, I think over a number of years. And then finally it came together in this really interesting program which involved Jacques Nimki's commission, his residency in Kingswood, and then his sort of joint commission with Fabrica.
We started planning it about 3 months ago, but the main culmination was about 2 weeks ago when we brought in to Fabrica 17 tonnes of topsoil. So we spread that out, and then the next day we had the turf delivered, and so we had 2 different types of turf, one which was the grassy turf and one which was the weedy turf, and so that that was quite a hard process, with carrying all those things in, and then laying it all out, and then laying it out to make sure that it fit, so it worked properly. Following that, once it had been laid down, once the grass had been laid down, we had a whole team of volunteers who came in and knitted the turf together, edged it, and then another group that went out to collect different weeds from the local area, and Jacques and the weed volunteers came back and planted those weeds, so that we've got another lot of weeds on top of the weeds that arrived with the turf. I mean, the big worry is whether the turf, the weeds, everything will start to die, because it's only a very 3 inches of topsoil, and it's a bit of a worry to me. They have to be tended, watered. You have to be very careful with it, because as everybody knows, lawns are very temperamental, and weeds, although they're everywhere, they can be very temperamental as well.